Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the Cyber Gizmo, I'm going to be taking a look at Peppermint Linux version 10 Respin right after this. So I have my VirtualBox set up. This is not going to be real fast, simply because I'm going to an old style spinning Rust drive, and so it's not going to be the fastest install, but it's about the only space I have left on this machine. So I wanted to take a look at Peppermint 10 Respin. I have a let me see. So I have a laptop, which is I don't have the 9th gen version of this. I have the 8th gen version of this, and this machine was actually designed to run Windows. It's designed to run to serve as kind of a portable low-end gaming machine. It has an NVIDIA GTX 1060 in it with, I think it's 6 gigabytes of memory. And it is a troublesome laptop to use with Linux. I have gotten so far the most success running this thing on Fedora workstation. Ubuntu will work for a while, and then for some strange reason, the Wi-Fi card will stop working at random, probably due to updates. Sometimes the trackpad stops working that's on the machine. Sometimes the keyboard stops working. It's just been a myriad of issues that I've had with this thing for quite some time. So I have been looking for a stable Linux distribution to run on this. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to take a look at Peppermint today was to see if I can find something that will actually run. Now, Fedora will run pretty well for the most part. Typically, there are issues when new distributions that produce a new kernel come out with this machine. Not sure why, but it's one of those things where you could spend a couple of days or maybe a week or maybe a month trying to figure out what exactly is going wrong. But I have run Pop! OS on it. Both the older 1804 variant of the system that's based on Ubuntu 1804 LTS, as well as the Ubuntu 19.10 flavor of Pop! OS. Both of those work pretty well for the most part. There are some issues coming out of sleep with the Pop! OS version, and typically those have to do with one of the issues that I saw recently was it will put the machine into airplane mode, and then there's no way to get it back out. It just ignores any input that you give it once you bring the machine back up. That could be for a number of reasons, and again, it could spend a couple of days, you could spend a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple of months trying to troubleshoot it. But this machine has been really a lot of trouble for me, and I wanted to find out if Peppermint would be a good alternative on this machine. So I thought today what I would do is let's go through the install of Peppermint OS and then talk a little bit about what I have seen in the past couple of days of trying to run it on this beast. The machine, as far as its performance, is pretty good. It's an 8700 something K. I'd have to go and look and get the exact config, but it's a full 6-core processor that's in there. It's a desktop processor that's in it. So yeah, it's as far as the machine itself being performance, it's good. It's good. It has Thunderbolt. It has USB-C, and it also has it has a nice looking screen. It is 1080, but again, that machine was designed for 1080p gaming. So with that, let's dig in and see what we can find out about Peppermint OS and see whether or not it will help me in trying to solve this problem with this infernal laptop that I have. So let's go out to the Linux site. And Peppermint OS, I think it was last It's only been a couple of days ago, just before Christmas. I think on Christmas, just the day on the 23rd, maybe, they released this. And so this is based on, it has a number of interesting components in it. It is a 1804 LTS variant of Ubuntu, and it does have some very nice features in it, which help with machines that are trying to game. So I thought maybe this would solve my problem for me. So I'm going to do a direct download of this. I should do a torrent because that saves them bandwidth. Unfortunately, I don't run torrent. Sorry about that. So I'll just download this, and I'll be back. Okay, so it is downloaded, and I have a terminal window that I've popped up in here, and we're going to check the MD5 sum on that, just to make sure it's down clean. Let's see. Begins with a 3C and ends with a BA0. So, yeah, I'd say we're good. So at this point, I think what I will do is switch over here. And I have already started the setup, and I'll just show you what I have in here. So nothing particularly fascinating about that. I gave it 4 gig of memory. I am going to tell it I'm using a USB tablet. I gave it 2 processors and that cap. No acceleration other than the defaults. And I'm using VMS VGA as the screen with, probably should bump that up a bit, but since this is just a VM, I'm not going to do that. And then I've created a hard drive for it and then mounted the ISO file to the CD port. Other than that, I set my network to bridge so that it will come across and use my internal network. And so I think we're all set to go here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. And this is not, as I said, I apologize, this is not going to be really fast, but so I have try, install, OEM install, check this for defects. Normally, if I was doing this, I would probably do the check for defects first, just to be sure that I do have a good download. But since I have a good checksum, I'm fine. I think I'm fine with this. So yeah, and it's ready to install. And you'll notice that this is XFCE as a desktop. And, you know, I don't mind XFCE at all. In fact, I don't mind any desktop at all. In particular, I don't have a favorite. I mean, I do use GNOME today on Fedora 31, on Workstation 31, mainly because I usually, in the past, have run Mate or I have run Cinnamon, but I have been playing around with Deepin, and since Deepin requires some GNOME installation pieces, I've switched back and forth between GNOME and Deepin on my Fedora. I'm just more or less kind of testing the environment with Deepin, but I'm not quite sure if I like it or not. It's nice. It's pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and install this. Yep, US English. What apps do you want to install? Now, what I did on the laptop was I checked this box, and that allowed me to pull down the third-party adapters for the Wi-Fi card that is in the MSI Stealth, and also support for the proprietary NVIDIA drivers. I also wanted that. So if you have one of these cantankerous laptops, then that will get most of it available for you. Now, I'm not blaming Linux. This is definitely it's definitely the laptop. So I have an installation on here already. I don't want to parallel it, so I'm going to erase and install it. Install Peppermint on it from the ground up. On the laptop, I did do this, encrypted it. I guess I could do that again today for this. And then we have to put in a key. right. And looks like we're good. You can choose it if you want additional security to overwrite the empty space with encryption. I'm not going to do that. Not for today. So it's write the changes to the disk. Yes. It knows it picked up. And Ubuntu usually does this pretty well. It discovers your location. And then I'm going to use I don't want to log in automatically, and I do want to require my password at login. And now it's starting to copy the files. So I'll be back when this is done, and I'll let you know about how long it takes. It's about 1:19. So we'll see. I'll come back and tell you 1:19 p.m. And that has taken about 11 minutes. So it is finished. And you know, again, don't judge your speeds from mine. This is an old spinning Rust drive, not the fastest in the world. And it's like I said, so, but that's what it took on my machine. Normally Ubuntu will dismount the CD-ROM, and I suspect so will Peppermint. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. And then I'll fix the screen resolution once we come up. And then it's saying you need to remove the installation medium, which it already is. So it's progressing on the shutdown. And now it's asking me to unlock the drive, so. Oops. Okay, tells me that it's decrypted. One thing that you should know about encryption and decryption of your hard drive is that your machine is still vulnerable to any kind of malware attacks coming through a browser, for example. The only time that this actually protects your hard drive is when the machine is either powered off or locked. So, yeah. So if you are expecting that to do a lot of protection for you, don't bank on it. It won't. But it will offer some protection if the laptop is powered down or is in a sleep state. Hibernate, sleep. Okay, well, let's fix this little problem here. And I'm just going to go into the, I probably should update this first, huh? And I want to go down to, they have since, they've kind of, the Peppermint team has sort of combined a lot of the look and feel aspects into a single application. So it's much easier to configure now than it would be in a traditional XFCE environment. Again, I apologize for the speed. This is my fault, not Peppermint's, because I can assure you that on my laptop running in XSD, it's quite fast. So I have some choices here as to what theme I want to use, or the widget, the color, icons. I'm going to, just for giggles, change that one. And then you have some other options for that. But if you want to set the resolution of the screen, and you'll have to go find the display. And I'm going to change mine to, let's see, I think that'll work. Let me move it over here. So, all right. So I could actually bump this up a little bit more, but I think this will work for now. Yeah, I think this will work. So it looks a lot like the last release of Peppermint as far as the screen, the default background is concerned. But one of the things they added is, if I change this, they've added all of these new ones. I think what I'm going to do is pick a nice dark one. Yeah, that's nice. And use that one for now. Now, usually, like I have always said, let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can read it as well. I always do this first. Make sure that I'm updated to the latest version before I start monkeying around with the system. Just to make sure that, one, I don't have anything that's going to expose me to a security vulnerability, and two, just to make sure I don't run into bugs that have already been fixed. So this will take some time again, and I'll be back. Okay, so it has finished, and that took quite a bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot this since it did update some firmware, and it looks like a potential patch to the kernel. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot. Okay, so we're back. So I think probably the first thing we should probably do is go back over to the site. They have some information about some of the changes and some introduction that it is based on 1804, but as you'll see when we get into this, the kernel is a 5.0 kernel and not the, I think the default for 1804 right now is 4.14. So yeah, it's a newer kernel, so they have updated some of the things. They are also allowing Nemo as a file manager, and then they're adding an integration step with ICE, which is the single site browser interface. I think the reason why they did that was that Firefox has recently deprecated their support for SSB in their browser, and so they are offering a web app integration with ICE in order to replace that. And I think that is also using some pieces from Firefox and some also from Chrome, the Google Chrome browser. So we'll take a look at that. And I think the other thing, probably just look at the release notes in general. But yeah, it's 1804 base as of the 10th of December, and includes a 5.0-37 kernel. Added a cursor resizer, and then they're talking about the web browser manager, and added Peppermint LXDE style. And then it looks like they're fixing a number of bugs. And then we have the SSB again. So I think probably let's go kick the tires a bit on this and see what we got. Now, I said XFCE, they're saying cinnamon, and yeah, it does look like cinnamon if you pay attention. Yep. But we can... I want to go find ice. I guess maybe I'll just go to all and we'll find it that way. There it is. So what ICE does is it creates an application from a web page. So what I think I will do, I'm going to need a URL. So open the browser here. This will take a bit because, again, this drive is really slow. Have I said that? I mentioned that already. Next time I do a review on one of these, I'll try to move it back over to the SSD. I just need to clean it out, archive some of the stuff off. It is full. It is full. And let's see. Let's do astronomy side of the day. Picture. And we'll capture the URL from here. This will be a good test because it's also an HTTPS site. So, all right. So let's give it a name. We'll call it AstroPix. We'll put in the web address. And you know, I haven't done this in a while. I used to create some SSB apps once in a while for sites that were my favorites that I wanted to get to right away. Now I could. They did say in the notes that you could use the Chrome or Chromium or Vivaldi SSBs, but the default is Firefox. And in order for those to work, you would have to install the components that you would need. And there is instructions in their manual on what things you need to do if you want to enable those. Those are not enabled, and I cannot select them. Select an icon. Oh, I think that one is fine, the one that's there. Yeah, or I can use the site favorite one, which will be that. And it's done. So I should, in my menu, there it is. So if I bring that up, I should now have an application. And you'll notice, yeah, it's still, I mean, it's Firefox as far as everything is concerned. The difference is that this gets rid of a lot of chaff that's on the site. It gets rid of the ads, it gets rid of all the other junk, and basically gives you a pure view into the site. And it is not requiring a re-download of the HTML code because it did that when it built the app. But I'm not sure how deep it goes. Let's see. Yeah, that's going to pull back from the site again. So it is just the initial URL page. So, I mean, yeah, I used to do this quite a bit back in the day on sites that I really wanted to get to quickly. Don't use it too much anymore. Maybe might go back and use it some again now that this is here. That's fairly straightforward and fairly easy to use. I did want to give you some comments, some general comments on what I have found with my cantankerous laptop. Now, I bought that laptop to run Windows, to run games on it, and I didn't use it very much, and so it's just been sitting gathering dust. And I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to move it over to Linux. So far, with Peppermint Linux, it runs great. It installed the NVIDIA drivers just fine. It installed the Wi-Fi drivers just fine. Both of those came up. I have not tested Bluetooth with it. It does understand the keyboard. It even turned on the backlighting for the keyboard with the map that I last had installed under Windows for the keys. And then also, it also works fine with the trackpad. My only complaint with it is when I put the machine to sleep. When I do that, I get some random weirdness. Sometimes it drops off the ability for the trackpad to work. So the cursor will just get stuck on the screen in the last place where it was, and I can't move it. Or it'll shut off the Wi-Fi with no ability to turn it back on. The driver just disappears. So those are probably minor problems with the distribution. Well, I shouldn't say it's a fault of Peppermint. It's probably more a fault of the base distribution, Ubuntu, than it is Peppermint, because those are actually things that are inside the kernel. But that's the only two problems I have seen. If I shut the machine off and bring it back up, everything's fine. It all works great. In comparison to like another one, Pop! OS, I have tested that laptop with 1910, and the problem with that one is the same. Put it to sleep, and the machine comes back up in airplane mode with a loss of the trackpad. The trackpad just disappears. So, yeah, I suspect that is not a problem with Peppermint at all. It's probably a problem with the kernel. But again, if I power both laptops, if I power it off, it works just fine. So, yeah, I'm going to continue to use Peppermint on it for the next couple of weeks. So far, the best distribution that has really worked well with that laptop has been, believe it or not, Fedora Silverblue. The only problem I have ever run into with that one was I had an external monitor hooked up to it, and that would occasionally disappear. That turned out to just be a cable problem. So, yeah, but again, it's an older release of the kernel. When I was playing with it, I have not done any work with Silverblue 31 on that laptop, and I suspect I would probably run into exactly the same kinds of problems I'm seeing with these. So, if you're looking for a laptop for Linux, there are some good ones. There are some good ones from Lenovo. There's some good ones from Dell. I would not recommend, of course, using a gamer's laptop to attempt to run Linux. There's just too much that goes on with there's too much obscurity in the drivers that they use, and a lot of obscurity in the types of devices that are attached to those machines. So, yeah, I'm going to have to live with this for a while, I think, but I'll continue to find a Linux distribution that may run on it. But so far, Peppermint works. No complaints with it. The speed of it is excellent. It takes up about 434 meg of memory on the laptop with the NVIDIA drivers installed. So not bad at all. So I'm really quite impressed. Now, Pop! OS on the other hand takes pretty close to a gig of memory. So yeah, it is definitely the district. Pop! OS uses GNOME and they're using XFCE, and so yeah, it's a lot better. I'll continue to kick the tires on it. So far, I really like Pop! OS, Peppermint OS. Pop! OS is okay too. I don't really have any complaints with it. I mean, it works as well, but it is a little heavier weight because it is running GNOME. I suppose you could also always change out the desktop. But here, let's take a look and see what we're doing here. I need to make this a little bigger again. I need to let me install HTOP. Well, here, we can just do this. Yeah, so 597 meg at the moment. That was after the update. So let's go ahead and install HTOP. If I can type, I'll get git, put that out here, and also NeoFetch as well. I saw a video where DistroTube was talking about the problems with NeoFetch. DistroTube, I think that is a problem on your OS, not on the other ones where you're having problems with the speed of NeoFetch being slow. I think that might be your distribution. I have never experienced the kinds of things that you were showing. And besides, you can always trim NeoFetch back. There is a config file for it if you want to trim out some of the junk you don't want to see. One of the things that does hang is when it does the colors. So you might want to trim that out. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. This is not speedy. It is. This drive was from the last century. It's pretty old. Well, maybe not quite that old, but yeah, it's old. I've had this machine almost 4 years. Almost 4 years now. So yeah, it's getting a little long in the tooth. Just hate to part with it, you know. It's just been one of those things that have just been rock solid. I am going to go to AMD though. Yeah, on the next one. I'm not staying with Intel. Used to use Intel a lot. Not anymore. That's not cost effective anymore. Sorry, Intel. And if the RISC-V comes out, that's where I'll be going. I'll be doing that too. All right, so let's do HTOP and just verify. 635 meg. Of course, I probably added a little bit more overhead. Now, you'll notice that there was a hang there right at the end when it was doing the colors. If you drop that off, this is pretty quick. So yeah, 5.0.0-37 is the kernel. It is the LXDE. I keep saying XFCE. That's wrong. It's LXDE. But it does have the XF window manager. So technically, it's kind of both. Yeah, not bad. It's not bad at all. One thing that I will tell you, if you're down here in the office, you'll need to install LibreOffice if you want that. The default is to use the Microsoft 365 online versions of the code. You know my feelings. I wouldn't recommend that. Also, the Google Drive, I wouldn't recommend using that either. Gmail, no. So, yeah, these are things that will leak information about you. So you probably don't want to do that. I did notice that, let's see. What else did I want to talk about here? Yep, let's go into the software manager. So you will notice there will be duplications of some of these apps that are in here. I think where I saw it was in productivity. So this offers Snap, it offers Flatpak, and it offers native. There's an example right here, and it'll tell you that's the Flatpak version. This probably is either a Snap or native. So yeah, so you kind of, it's typical Linux where you have a choice of what you want to do. And I've used it for about 3 days now, Peppermint, and I like it. I like it so far. I really do. When installed natively, so far, I would say it is the fastest OS I have used yet under Linux. Now, I know the Arch guys will say, well, that's silly. Ours is faster, and it probably is. But so far, on that particular laptop, this one, I haven't tried Arch on it. I'm afraid I would be into the bowels of the machine for months trying to get it worked out with the drivers. But, yeah. Anyway, it is helping me solve a problem with that laptop. And so, yes, if you're looking for one, don't buy that one unless you like a challenge. Hope you enjoyed. Let me go back over here. So, yeah, just a cursory look at Peppermint. And I'll probably do a follow-up after I've had a chance to really use it on that laptop for a while, and get back to you and tell you, yeah, I like it, I'm going to keep it on here, or maybe I'm going to go back to Fedora Workstation 30. I did some experimenting with 31, and yeah, that didn't go well. So that laptop is just a pain. Anyway, hope to see you again real soon, and please like and subscribe, and take care. See you next year. This is my last video for this year. So anyway, see you next year.